Barely.
Oh,
Sounds like
okay.
me.
Yeah.
No, I can't do this.
We're streaming on YouTube now.
Oh my.
Oh, okay. Let me get this together here.
No, we're good. We're good. I don't have an audience yet.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
maybe we'll have one
I
or
see
two
the
people
sign.
pop
Is
in.
it
I
meeting
see it
now
says
live on
live.
YouTube?
I was trying to make a flyer to
Say
like
hi.
announce that we're going
You're on the
live.
world.
Hi, Gemma.
You're
Hey,
on YouTube.
cool. Let's just dive in, y'all. And
Sure.
however we can. Welcome back to Hustle Science Experiment. I've not revisited this podcast for a while, but I'm so excited to come back to this with a tribe called Fertility. New clients of mine, new friends of mine, folks that have put trust in me, and I'm excited to dive into their stories. Today we have Dr. Jill Baker as well as Sinora Allwood. I'd love for each of you to just kick us off with like a 3 to 5 minute intro of like what you're doing professionally and what led you to start podcasting.
Oh my. I guess I'll go
Awesome.
first. We talked about that a little earlier today. So I'm
Mhm.
I'm Dr. Jillian Baker, everyone. I have my doctoral degree in public health. I have a master's in counseling psychology. I have 20 years of research experience in community health intervention development with vulnerable populations. I am currently an associate professor at Rowan University at the School of Osteopathic Medicine, and I currently teach over 400 medical students how to conduct research ethically with vulnerable communities, things that medical students think that they know, but they don't really know. Um, I am a mother of three. My twins, Gavin and Gemma, are here somewhere next to me. They'll be 10 in May, which I can't believe. They'll be double digits. And my youngest is Amari, 3.5. And Tribe Called Fertility came about through a conversation that Sinora and I had about maybe a couple of years ago about our own experiences with trying to start our families. And we realized that we had a lot of overlap. And we were like, we need to be talking more about this. And then the more we started telling other people our stories, we realized that there were so many Black women who had been kind of suffering in silence and being alone. And we felt that we needed to have a platform for those sisters to share their stories. And that's really how, well, I'm sorry, Sonora has her part. But that's how it started. Yeah, I think it will be 3 years ago this year, right? Sonora, am I right?
Yeah, 3 years ago,
Yeah,
just about this time,
before
like May.
COVID,
Yeah.
when life was
hmm
normal
Yeah,
ish.
that's amazing. Sonora, I would love to hear your side of it, of how you came into this role.
So I am Sinora Joy Allwood. I am a registered nurse, also the owner of All Good Holistics and All Good Automotive and Sales, which I co-own with my husband. And so I've been a nurse for over 12 years and worked in so many different roles, but mainly my specialty was wound care and geriatrics. I'm a wound care specialist. I've also worked in visiting nursing, so I worked heavily in the community in New York City. I worked every borough. I've seen thousands of patients in the city limits, and now currently I am owner of All Good Holistics, which came about through my fertility journey. I wound up being diagnosed with infertility. I think around 2012, somewhere around then, and didn't realize that I was actually suffering from infertility until I went to a gynecological checkup and realized that we'd been trying since we got married and couldn't get pregnant. And so I went through so many tests, just so many different avenues. And it was determined that I had unexplained infertility. And for me being in the medical profession, it just, it left me feeling really just hurt, you know, because there was no term, there was no reason why I couldn't have a baby. It was literally unexplained. And so a friend of the family introduced me to a holistic doctor, and I was able to do a full body cleanse or detox. And a few months later, we were actually able to conceive naturally. So we didn't need IVF, which we were just about to start, and it's so expensive. And that entire time, I really went through that alone with just me and my husband. Didn't speak about it to anyone. And it was on Jill's 40th birthday trip where we were all just like reconnecting and, you know, and on the beach one day, and we're like, I went through infertility. And she's like, so did I. And it was just like the light bulb went off, and we were like, why is this the first time?
Husbands were talking to each other about it.
Yeah.
Jamaica's sun, the sand, drinks.
Everything was flowing, but it was like
for these conversations.
Right. We already had the kids at this point, you know, and so it just, it was something like a light bulb went off again, where we felt like, why are we just not talking about this? Why didn't we lean on each other? Why didn't we, you know, share our stories? And that's where we said, you know what, we have to do something about this. Yeah, start talking. Came up with the podcast.
That is such an like emotional origin story for a podcast. And, you know, you both are super brave to be able to talk about this so openly now. You know, like the traumas and the like emotions that you had to overcome in your own silos. I just can't imagine how tough that could be. But I know y'all are doing just amazing good work, because you're talking to other women, old and young, and couples that may not know that these are issues that they could be facing, and kind of reaching out to them so that they could bridge the gap. And it's kind of like you're reaching out to your past selves in a way, which is, I think, the most touching, you know, thing that anybody could do as like an educator or as a podcaster, is like go back and like help people kind of accelerate the journey a little bit faster of healing and growth. I don't normally go to lessons and stuff, but I want to get into something else because y'all sent me this picture yesterday where like you guys are looking like you're 12 or 14. So can you share a little bit about that? Like your background, like you guys knew each other for a long time before you started podcasting.
Since middle school.
Since what?
7th, 8th grade.
I was in 7th grade.
Yeah. I was in 7th, you were in 8th.
You were in 8th, right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we were going to the master school. Shout out to Masters.
Shout out to the master school.
In Dobbs Ferry, New York. And it was a very unique experience because we were one of, I think at the time, the student population was like something like 300 students. And we were one of many? And we were one of 12 students of color.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So
Black girls.
Not just Black. That was like all
everybody. Oh, that's even more.
Was it like a segregated neighborhood or school?
You know, it's an elite neighborhood.
It was in Westchester, New York.
New York, Dobbs Ferry.
Very elite.
And it was an independent school, top in the nation. We had to do a lot of testing to get in.
Right. At that point, it was a day school and a boarding school. Only for girls. But it's been co-ed for a while from what I understand. I didn't get to graduate from there. That's a whole other story. But nevertheless, I mean, life-changing experiences with the friendships that I've had that have lasted 30 years. We all had something very special with 5 of us. There were 5 of us from the Bronx specifically. Yeah. So either we all were carpool together for a lot of things. Sonora's mom, Mama Claire, shout out to Mama Claire.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Jill's grandpa.
My grandfather would drive us. We had activities after school, and then we had activities on the weekend. So it was like a 45-minute drive both ways. Yeah. I remember we were in a play, and Sonora's mom drove us to practice, to rehearsal, and had to come back and get
a lot
us.
Of hustling involved. Yeah,
it was. And our parents sacrificed a lot for us to have that opportunity. Yeah. And then all the things that we learned from our white sister friends. I mean, things that we've all learned that I still do. beauty tips, stuff like that. So
went to my first bat mitzvah, you
Right.
know,
Oh, wow.
like
Cultural
just
immersion.
and we
Yeah,
introduced
totally.
all of our friends to hip hop because we're from the Bronx. So what else are we gonna do?
We were wearing like cross colors and all that kind of stuff.
We had them listening to Black Sheep
Yeah.
on repeat.
Giving the teachers the heartache.
Onyx. Remember Onyx?
Onyx, because our
Big
friend
fan.
Portia, another
Yes.
one of the only Black students, her
Yes,
mom worked
Portia.
at Onyx's record label.
Yeah.
And we heard Onyx's first album on cassette before they came out.
Yeah. I remember
So we
that.
heard Slam, we heard everything,
Everything.
That's so cool.
their album dropped. So that is
Mhm.
those are the kind of experiences that we had at the master school. It was very
Yeah.
special.
It was.
Definitely lifelong experiences. Sorry, Sinora, did you want to chime in?
No, I was just going to say, and as you can see, they're still, you know, lasting today. You know, it's still what bonds us to this day. So
That's amazing, and I aspire to have friendships like that. You know, but for me, it's the college days where I like feel like I met my closest homies, and still early. But I'd love to dive into the next segment of what we do for Hustle Science Experiment, which is which is a tactical lesson, and it can be a lesson in business or career development. The people that listen to my show are either folks that want to become entrepreneurs, or maybe they're building their professional career. So do each of you have, and you can each have your own lesson if you want, that you'd like to share?
Sinora, I'm gonna let you go first because you're
Sure.
you're the real business person.
No, stop. Because we've been doing this for 3 years. You are a certified entrepreneur now. Okay. We made it past our first year, right? Isn't that big when you make it past your first year in business? So for me, I shared a little bit of my journey with you. So my work is really personal. It's not just about owning a business per se. It's about providing a service. Because I was really hurt throughout my fertility journey. And I learned that through changing my diet and, increasing or adding certain supplements, I was able to conceive. That's just something I want to pass on to other people, and not just in fertility. Being a nurse, I've taught diabetes management. I've taught, cardiovascular disease management. And so for me, what I'm trying to do is integrate I'm taking the word try. It's also another entrepreneurial
Kick that
secret.
word out.
Not trying, I'm doing. Taking some of what I've done in my nursing practice and what I've now studied in holistics, and merging the two, integrating it. So for me, a lesson for entrepreneurs would be make it mean something. Because when it means something to you, when you love it, it's not work. And I know people say that all the time. But I mean, it's truly that, for me, helping people and seeing them reach a health goal or outcome, it's just so rewarding. It's not about any money at all, and what I've found is that the money comes because my purpose is aligned, and so I don't have to necessarily chase money. I don't even really advertise. I just started putting things on social media, and I have a really decent client base. And that's just because of the blessings, so if it means something, you're going to work, and it's not going to feel like work. You're going to pull those all-nighters. You're going to, all that good stuff. But the rewards are so much greater.
I love that, Sinora. And if we may just dive a little bit deeper into that for a second, was there a defining moment that you realized this lesson? Because, you see entrepreneurs all the time, and I feel like there's a lot of entrepreneurs that get into business because they want to make money. And I get it. COVID has created a very tough environment where entrepreneurship is the go-to, but then I feel like you start making really poor decisions when you start prioritizing money over alignment of your values and what you want to deliver. So could you share more? Is there did you learn it the hard way, or do you learn it from somebody
Great
else?
Question.
I learned a lot watching my mother and my aunt. They opened a restaurant back in the day in Co-op City. It was called Tabletop Cafe.
Oh my gosh,
and
we used to have so much fun there.
Yeah.
And the food was
Food was
amazing.
fantastic.
Oh my gosh. More
Like we have
memories.
lines around the corner.
Yep.
We sold out food faithfully between Thursday and Sunday.
So your mom was a
Completely
chef?
sold out. My grandmother was the chef. So
Okay.
all of the recipes were based on her cooking. And then we also had a West Indian element as well. And so I just watched. That was completely family owned.
Your mom worked hard. Your mom worked
she
hard.
still worked for corrections department,
Yes.
New York City
She
Department
was
of Corrections.
Now that's her mom is a hustler. Mama
Then
Claire
she
is a
came
hustler.
home
Right.
and closed the shop, and she wouldn't leave out of there. Like we would close at about 10, 11. By the time you shut down, put food away, prep for the next day, it's about 2 a.m. And then she's getting up and going again. And you know what I learned watching them, I learned from a lot of their mistakes. I learned from their work ethic. They loved it. Also, like my grandmother was big on holidays and just feeding people. It was always just a way for us to come together. It's always involved food and just making people happy. And then we did a lot of charity. We would, give a lot of food away. Every Thanksgiving, we fed people for free and things of that nature. And just, like I learned, and we did a lot in the community. And what I learned watching them is because this was like 91. And we were one of the only Black-owned restaurants. We were the first Black-owned restaurant in Co-op City, but in that area in the Bronx. And we were like the only other soul food restaurant besides Sylvia's. And so it was like, there were a few others, but it was something really new. And so I just got inspired. I feel like I can pretty much do anything I want to do, watching them. And I saw what it meant to the community. So it was just bigger than we have a business. It was inspiring for everyone. And, especially being a young Black woman, like it really made me who I am today. So that's one of my biggest lessons, make it mean something. Again, it's like, it's tied into where I am today, because it meant something to us and it meant something to the community.
I love that so much.
It provided a need too.
Yeah. They gave a lot of jobs and people relied on us for meals. People didn't cook. They would come in literally every day. Like, I know I can eat here, holidays.
Get takeout, get it to go. Yeah. I remember.
I'm sure your grandmother then maybe found like joy out of like feeding people in the same way that you're finding joy out of consulting folks through their holistic health journeys.
Absolutely. Complete joy.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Baker, what about you? Did you think of a good... It could be a professional lesson too, like even in your career going through, your PhD and now being a professor.
Yeah. I was thinking, I had to think about it. I was like, let me think about what I'm going to say about that before I come on. But I think one thing, one piece of advice that I would give, that can pertain to anybody, but even people in academia specifically, is don't keep yourself in a box. So for instance, when I was looking to leave the last job that I had as an assistant professor in public health, and my last two positions had been in public health. So I said, okay, is there something else that I can do with my skill set kind of somewhere else? Now, applying to the same kind of jobs. And I was like, well, I want to do something a little bit different. So when the position that I have at Rowan came about, like it didn't say a PhD. And I was like, well, they might want a medical doctor since it's a medical school, I don't know, but, they wanted someone with research experience and someone who had a scholarly background and to be able to teach students research. And I was like, well, I'm a researcher, so let me just apply and see what happens. And then literally, I think I submitted my application for the job. And then 2 days later, I got a call saying, oh, Dr. Baker, we were impressed by your resume. Can you come and interview? Came and did the first interview, I think that week. And then they asked me to come back and do the second interview. So I think in maybe a 6-week period, I had a job offer at Rowan, and I was able to get a promotion to associate. So for those of us in academia, you start at assistant, then the next level is associate, and then it's full professor is the last. So I was able to negotiate with my role that I would come in as associate professor, so I wouldn't have to apply for that level of promotion kind of once I was already there. And so, yeah, I wasn't the typical person that they wanted for the job. But even my boss still says, you were not the person that I thought that we thought of for this job. But she said to me, you know, hiring you was one of the best professional decisions that I made, just because of the breadth of expertise that I have. And I can teach about health disparities and implicit bias and all the things that kind of everybody wants to talk about now all of a sudden, as if they didn't exist before. Uh, so I would just say, just think outside the box, kind of don't leave yourself in a box. And we're all able to do different things. I just think it's about leaving some space open for yourself to think about other things that you can do, and market yourself for different things that you can do.
For sure. For sure. I think a lot of people struggle with this piece. And I think, you know, even going back to my own personal like academia journey, it kind of feels like it's inundated into you, right?
Yes.
Like you have to go super narrow in order to make
Yes.
impact.
Yes.
But we're living in a new world now, though, where things are kind of changing, and it's like folks that have, you know, multidisciplinary skills are more impactful in the kind of new organizations that are coming out. And I mean, you definitely come from a background where you have a better pulse than, you know, excuse me, like the traditional white doctor on marginalized groups and educating, you know, future doctors on marginalized groups. And so I don't think anybody maybe 20 years ago would have been able to predict that, in the same way that today, the folks listening now, like maybe can't predict what job they might be in 20 years
Right.
from now.
That's a great point.
So true.
An excellent point.
It's amazing though, because even now, as we all explore whatever comes next, I mean, we could do whatever we want. It's kind of the message that you're saying, you know, we shouldn't tell ourselves no. We should apply ourselves and have them tell us no if it comes down.
Right.
Absolutely.
Don't set any limits on ourselves.
That's it.
That's a great point.
And you know what I'm learning too is that all of your skills can be translated in other ways, you know, like so when you say don't put yourself in the box, it's so true. And like now, even with our next phase with a tribe, where we plan to offer, you know, workshops and you know, coaching and things of that. Yeah, like we're stretching ourselves beyond the podcast because we actually can, you know. And so, as a nurse, I teach. As a professor, Jill teaches. She's a scientist, you know, like there's so many different skills that we can play upon. And this can also help generate income for us as well.
Absolutely. You know, because you just mentioned the income piece, I have this book that one of like fellow organizers gave me. It's called The Wealth Choice, Success Secrets of Black Millionaires.
And it's Kimbrough.
Yeah, and the first statement slapped me in the face, because it was like, why aren't you rich? Like, why don't you, like, you're a smart individual, you've got skills, obviously, you know, between us, we're entrepreneurs and scientists and stuff, like, why don't we have $10 million in bank accounts? And I think that was a real slap in the face of like, yeah, I think I want to go up for that challenge myself. And I think all of us should be, you know, not putting ourselves in the box saying that we can't do it.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also like goal setting. We all say like, I want this, I want that, you know, I want this car. But really, are we willing to just even dream that big? How are we going to get those things? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like for me, my first Dennis Kimbrough book was Think and Grow Rich, a Black choice. Napoleon Hill, Dennis Kimbrough. And that book just opened my mind up. And I'm like, thinking too small. You know, I'm limiting myself.
Yeah.
I'm back to that kid again, too. I'm tapping back into the dreamer, you know?
Right.
I think that's an amazing segue into the next segment. So what we're going to do next is we'll do a moment of gratitude. I'll kick it off, and then we'll do a life lesson. So I'll kick off the moment of gratitude. My moment of gratitude today is, you know, over the last couple of months, I've been like struggling with my health. I've been going up and downs over the years, but I feel like I've been able to put myself back on the wagon. I'm like a week straight now, like good dieting, working out daily, being productive. And I'm just having gratitude for letting go of the optional pain and just picking myself back up and just moving forward. And so that's my moment of gratitude today. And I think I have like a specific friend, I'll shout him out, Carrie Wynn, who like helped me with like some diet stuff, which is really helpful.
That's amazing.
Love that. And, if you need anything, Elias, I got you.
Sinora is the one to go.
Appreciate it.
Right. Is the one to go to too as well.
I just love how you said the optional pain, because that's what I realized. And that's what brought me so much breakthrough in my own life. So I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for everything. I'm grateful for life. I'm grateful for breath. I'm grateful for my mind. I'm grateful for my friends. I'm grateful for this platform. I'm grateful that we've met you, Elias. You've helped to take our podcast to another level, and it's bigger than that. It's the creativity. You're helping us grow in so many ways, professionally, and and then also taking off some stress from us. So I'm just like, I'm very grateful for that. And I'm grateful for Jill. There was a period in time.
Guys.
I know.
I'm gonna drink some more. Y'all go ahead.
There was a period in time where we were, there was a little distance. Life happens. Went to different colleges, and you lose touch, and then we reconnected, and it's just a beautiful thing that we could pick up right where we left off. We're getting to that point in life where, the friends are very few.
Yeah.
The circle is smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for a solid friend that I can trust and rely on, and know has my back and pushes me. And just, that's how we're able to really do what we're doing right now, business-wise. But as a woman, like, I needed that. So I'm very grateful for our friendship, and I'm
giving each other some grace. So beautiful. Oh gosh, moments of gratitude. That's very interesting. In because I'm a Buddhist. I am a Nichiren Buddhist.
Oh, I did not
know that. We chant Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. But one of our main principles of our practice is always to repay debts of gratitude. So really, kind of every day, taking time to reflect on what we're what we're thankful for. I need to work on that more. I realize my daughter is working on that too. So we're working on that together. But I am thankful for my health, which also I have struggles with my health as well. So, but having a good day today, I'm thankful for my family. Because without them, Sinora and I wouldn't be able to do everything we're doing with the show. And they understand when mommy is working, and they're like, you two are working again and you have a meeting again. You do? Yeah. Yes. And for
me, likewise, same thing.
Yes, the same for Sinora. Another thing we have in common. And for our
great families.
Husbands, but both of y'all have really well behaved kids. Sorry for interrupting.
Oh,
we don't think so, but thank you.
I mean,
not at all.
They're not running across the Zoom camera, like knocking over your laptop or something crazy.
Thank you.
It's true. They actually allow us
thing
to
I've
do
heard
this.
today.
Right? It's beautiful.
Somebody says your kids behave well, that you can't. There's nothing better than
a beautiful
that.
compliment. Yeah.
And also, our husbands, who have allowed us so much space.
Yeah.
For us, I mean, we've been talking about this for a long time, to the point that they were like, all right, when are you all actually going to start? What is happening?
That's a great reaction of support.
Right. Because they could have said, oh, well, then they won't be talking about us on the show. Instead, they pushed us.
Little do they know, you probably talk about them all of the time.
They know.
They know. So thank you to our husbands.
Thank you.
For letting us talk about you as positively on the show, but also for allowing Sinora and I to be transparent about our experiences, especially with them being Black men, because certain things that we talk about could perceive that people could think, oh my gosh, they allow them to make those decisions and do this and do that. And they could be perceived weak in some way. And although we of course do not feel that or think that in any way, but really, even if they're not on the show and not visible on the show, our experiences are their experiences because we went through this together. And so for them to allow us to share that with the world, I really feel like that's a huge thing. And I think that it's going to be something that also sets us apart because, and I was talking to my therapist about this today, because she said, you have men involved, you have Black men involved. And for so long, Black men are kind of left out about the family planning discussions and fertility discussions, but it's 50-50. They are going through it the same way that we are. And so I really think for us, for a tribe called Fertility, that's something that's going to set us apart, that we want to support Black men. We want to raise them up as well. We want to provide
We want to tell their stories.
Yes, we're here. And I think 14% of our listeners are men. Like, that's a big thing. And we're going to get those numbers up. And so, so I'm thankful for them for sure. Thankful to Sinora for the sister that she is, and always allowing grace for me, and I allow grace for her, especially in this chaotic pandemic life, which people, I just want to say, everyone, give people grace right now. Please.
Yeah.
Every day for everyone living in this pandemic life, we're all going through something. I think as humans, this pandemic is a learning lesson for all of us, that we're all experiencing something similar, which doesn't always happen. But with that said, there really should be a lot more grace on a daily basis. And I just feel like that's really lacking a lot. And so when Sinora doesn't feel well, if Elias doesn't feel well, or I don't feel well, we're like, all right, cool. We'll do whatever we need to do. We can reschedule. Right. This is not about stress. This is not a place of stress. Other things we do, we have to be stressed. But for our business and our show and what we're trying to do, it's not going to be a place of stress. And because we all won't operate from the best place anyway, so we choose not to bring that to the show and everything else that we do as much as possible. I mean, we really try to protect that. So if you can do that, I think that that's really important. I think I talked too long, but
no. I think you made.
But gratitude for grace.
Gratitude
for grace.
Give everyone grace.
Yeah,
that's huge. Yeah.
It is surprising that in a time when we can have more compassion because we are experiencing the same thing.
Yeah.
I think I don't know the right way to say this, and I don't want to say it that like makes me sound like an asshole, but I want to like have like ultimate empathy, meaning that like even when I feel like I should be the person empathized with, and then the other person still reacts negatively, or people do this all the time. They flake, like they ghost, or like I just try to like just have empathy for that, and then go back to the optional pain thing. And like, I'm not going to feel the pain. I'm not going to inflict more pain onto them. I'm just trying to create some space. And then the flip side for me, whenever I fail, because I'm human too, it goes back to the optional pain of like, these are my commitments. Let me pull myself back up. Let me just address this, and kind of, and so I don't know. I try to balance that piece to what you're saying.
We all should be doing that.
Yes.
We all should be more conscious of those things.
The other piece I really love that you said, Jill, which I think isn't said enough, is that, men just aren't always down to be emotionally sensitive, or not down to be vulnerable. And I think the fake toughness perpetuates a big part of the problem, actually.
Absolutely.
But I mean, you know what? Fake toughness, it definitely is. However, it's like the necessary exterior that you have to go into the world with, especially our men, especially Black men, because of what a Black man encounters on a daily basis.
Right.
It's like you can't go out there,
right?
All vulnerable.
And not to say that we don't as Black women, but we
have to do it too.
It's different.
But let's be real. As a woman, I am able to rely on my feminine wiles at times.
Yep.
I am able to fall into my
to.
soft and pink self if
Right.
needed to. We don't respect men, unfortunately, in that way, you know, and so when they present that. And for our men, it's just the challenges that they have to deal with. They have to have that hard exterior. So, you know, it's huge that, you know, we have men that are allowing us to tap into that vulnerable side, you know.
I do think that is really huge, and I'm excited to see down the road as you continue to talk to more couples, you know, and get like both participation.
Yep.
I think that's going to be very important.
They'll be on.
Oh, an awesome moment of gratitude, y'all.
Yeah, it was great.
The next segment is the life lesson. And I'm sure you have a wealth of life lessons from your own podcast and from your personal lives and from your work, but feel free to pick whatever speaks to you now. Dr. Joe, I think we'll put you on the spot since Sinora went first last time.
Well, the first thing that was on my mind, and I did think about this, I'm not good on the spot with certain things. So I was like, what would I say? I would say for anyone who is seeking to partner with someone, and that's probably most people, I would say just be as smart as possible about who you decide to partner with and who you decide to have children with, if you decide to have children. But whoever you partner with, because when marriage is not easy, I think we all agree to that. But when you have the right person who maybe their traits have things that you need to work on and vice versa, there's so much growth that can come from that, or someone that challenges you in certain ways. Like my husband is a Libra, so he always sees things from different angles. He's like, we need to think about it like that or like that. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Although annoying, very true. And I know for a lot of people, you know, when your relationships don't go well, or when you're having issues in your relationships, then it kind of sours other things that you're doing. So if you need to go to therapy for yourself, go to therapy. I've been in therapy since I was 23, my own individual therapy. We have our own off and on. So that is advice. Don't be afraid to get therapy individually or with your partner, and be smart about who you partner with. That was on the top of my head too.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. It's definitely landed on my ears, but I won't comment further. So I'll let Sinora share her life lesson.
You're still young in the game. You're still.
Yeah, I mean, but he's married, so he knows what we're talking about. Okay.
No.
And it is true because just echoing a little bit of what Jill said, you just don't know what curveballs life's going to throw you. And so to me, I'm just, yeah. And I'm big on character. You know, I know myself and my husband met, we were both like rebuilding, and he was back at home, his mom, you know, he was in the middle of like a foreclosure, and I was back at home with my mom, and I was finishing up nursing school, and just, we were both in a place of like, you know, if I was like younger and dumber, I probably wouldn't have dated him, you know? But what I had to realize was like, he has tremendous character. I looked at how he treated people. I looked at how he treated his mom. I looked at how he treated me, my mom, just women in general, strangers, you know, and just
ditto.
It was like, for me, and also he was a father. And for me, coming from a broken home, you know, my stepfather raised me, thank God. But having that brokenness and having some daddy issues, it was good for me to see a preview of a good father, to see what life would be like if we crossed that road. And although he was divorced and co-parenting, I saw that he didn't leave his child. I saw that he made sacrifices for him. He was the first man I met that didn't care about paying child support. I've never seen that before. Never seen that before. But I was like, you know what? And I guess my life lesson, because you just don't know what, like I said, life will throw you. What I did get a chance to see, because I focused on his character, was, what if we don't make it? he'll still be there for our children. He'll still be, decent towards me. I'll be able to co-parent with someone like this. And I don't think we look at stuff like that when we begin partnerships, when we begin relationships.
No,
You know what
because
I
you're
mean?
looking at all the good, thinking about all the good stuff.
You're caught up in the emotions.
Right.
You're thinking about all the good stuff. And
Right.
even just like with business, when you go in, you're all excited. You may forget to, take care of business. You may forget to have contracts. You may forget to do certain things. But if you really go in looking at a person's character, things will work out. When you hit bumps in the road, you'll be able to handle them in a decent way, in a decent manner, because of the person that you are. So for my life lesson, it is, and that's also learning it from dealing with bad people. Sometimes you have to know what it's like on the other side.
What's like on the other side.
In order to appreciate the good.
And sometimes you might have to go back and reflect on those. Like, ooh, remember when I went through XYZ?
So that's also something that's like the glue that keeps our marriage too, is that I did date a lot before I met him, and I had experience where I knew what a bad man was. You know what I mean? And even like with us, when we have bad times, it's always good to go back and reflect on what brought us together. Well, what was it like when we weren't having these issues? Or even with the fertility story, when I think about the sacrifices, the doctor's trips, the injections, the time sex, when I think about all that, when we tell our story, it just makes me love my husband even more, because I'm like, wow, like, look what we accomplished together. Look what we went through together when it really counted, so. Yeah.
And made it. A lot of couples don't make it who go through those challenges.
And we made it.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely hope your husband hears this podcast, because I think it's the greatest compliment to hear that you're an amazing father.
Yes.
We strive, for that one day. But that's very touching. I think one of the lessons I extracted from both of y'all just now is do your due diligence, and do your due diligence personally, do it in your business. Just don't make assumptions. I think that was another lesson I learned recently. It was like, don't make assumptions. Assumptions are dangerous. If you're going to make an assumption, it better be calculated, And so that's great, y'all. I mean, that was pretty much the segment of this type of interview. I'd love to let y'all each kind of wrap it up and share how folks could get in touch with you and listen to your podcast and kind of get into your worlds.
Well, for me, people can, I guess, follow me on Twitter at Dr. Jill Baker, DrJillBaker. A Tribe Called Fertility. We're on Facebook. We are on Instagram, also Tribe Called Fertility. What else? Twitter, podcast _ capital A, capital T, capital C, capital F for Tribe Called Fertility. Did I forget anything?
I'll make sure to link it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Folks can also get consultations with you, right? Like if they're struggling with their own infertility issues.
Yes.
Yep. We are always looking for guests.
So maybe message you on Instagram to get that conversation
us.
started.
You can DM us. You can email us via the website, which is also a tribecalledfertility.com. And you can reach me at All Good Holistics at IG, Facebook, allgoodholistics.com, info at All Good Holistics, email.
And people can email us at a tribecalledfertility@gmail.com as well.
I think
listen to
this
our
has
show.
been the most perspective widening episode I've ever had. So thank you both, for coming and being able to share the fertility angle on my podcast.
Oh,
thank you, Elias. Thank you. We have gratitude for you.
Oh yeah, tremendous.
It is mutual. I would have